So there comes a realization for most people who do spiritual work that there must be more. Society doesn't work. It is insanity. And believe it or not, most people, and my conclusion is that until we actually recognize that we're insane, it's very hard to heal. So that most people are insane. The world is an insane place. And I'm insane also, and I don't want to be insane anymore. And we begin a search for wholeness. There must be more, okay? And this in our process we call the rot. You're starting to rot out of the way the world works. It doesn't seem to work. There has to be a better way, but I haven't found it yet. Okay, so we start things off. We go to religions, philosophies, yoga, self-help, and these are all about fix. Emotion. With a lot of these, you get emotions such as anger, rage, hate, and sadness. They're bad. Okay, but this is a denial of our humanness. Okay, so you recognize that over time, something doesn't feel whole about that, and that emotions such as happiness, joy, bliss, and contentment are good. This results in spiritual bypassing. That doesn't work either. Spiritual bypassing is saying that things like anger and rage and hate are not there. They're not real. I don't need to deal with them. Okay? And sooner or later, if you've done a lot of work and you haven't found any groups, sooner or later you may actually come across Trillium Awakening. And we say, what if we just sit with what is without judgment of right and wrong and see what happens? What if everything's okay just right now? Okay? You're not broken. Okay? There may be ways of thought that are going on, okay, that may not work, but right now, that's what's going on. And so this is what we call green lighting, okay? We sit with you, okay? Okay? So we sit with you, and we listen to your stories and the content that's associated with it. We witness and validate your experience, okay? The sensations in your body will draw you downwards over time to land you in the energies that are stored and frozen there. So just by being able to be in a safe place in which you can tell your stories, feel your emotions without someone judging them as right or wrong, without any expectations for you as a human being, what happens is you find is they spontaneously start releasing. Okay? And these releases might be physical, they might be emotional, they might be energetic, or they may come along with realizations. Okay? And so as you sit with people, as you sit with teachers, and you sit with others in this group, and you feel safe, okay, you start to release. So what this is we ask you to sort of, in a sense, establish a new tribe. The tribe that you've been living with doesn't support most people. I think about your family, right? Most families I've found really don't support each other. Some do, okay? But most families, my brothers and sisters, don't support me. You know, as I looked on Facebook the other day, oh, Jim, he's my kooky brother, right? That's the way I'm still looked at, right? I'm the odd one, right? I do things differently. I'll tell you another thing. I told my mother that I had a dream once about my father because my father died 30 years earlier and that he gave me information. I asked my mother if this information was true and she said it was. And she never talked to me again because I freaked her out. You're not supposed to have those qualities. You're not supposed to have those skill sets, right? Okay. So what happens is we ask you to build a support team, people who are going to support you in this process of feeling safe again. So we ask you to work with teachers. It doesn't matter which teacher you work with. You may have a favorite teacher, but all the teachers are amenable to working with you, okay? Teachers don't have propriety on a student or anyone in the work, okay? You may find that you have a favorite teacher, but all the teachers are available to you. And hopefully over time you'll find that some teachers are better at doing some work than other teachers. We ask you to work with mentors, okay? Mentors are people who are sort of in the process of becoming teachers. They really can't provide feedback, but they can act as a place where you can speak out your mind in a safe environment. We ask you to work with peers. Find other people who are on the same path with you in a trillium, who are willing to work with you and talk with you, okay? And this becomes part of your sangha or community, okay? We ask you to get body workers, okay? Because a lot of this work is going to be associated with physical trauma to our bodies. We have to release muscles. We have to release deep tensions, okay, that are held in our bodies by constricting for so long. Psychotherapists are usually a key, okay? You need to find psychotherapists who understand an intense and very expansive spiritual path. Because a lot of psychotherapists and psychoanalysts don't even believe in soul, okay? They don't believe in this concept of mind being more than the body, okay? And so you want to find people who can do the psychotherapy for you, who understand the dynamics of the awakening process. I had a person I was working with who had a spiritual awakening, and unfortunately he said things to his parents and they thought he was having a psychotic break, even though he was having, and they put him in a psych ward and they dumped a whole bunch of chemicals in him. Okay, so recognize that, okay, people can misconstrue spiritual awakening as psychopathology. In our culture, which is insane, having spiritual experiences are considered insane. Okay, they're not normal for the typical person in society. Okay, so you want to find, again, appropriate health people. Okay, because a lot of stuff that's been going on in our body is associated with imbalances in biological systems. Okay, and they need work. And you may also need alternative healthcare, acupuncture, or whatever else you find to help you through this. So we're asking you, in a sense, to create a tribe that supports you in this work, that empowers you on your path. When I started working with Trillium, and I told my sister about it, she goes, "Oh my God, you're in a cult." And I was thinking, no, they've never told me I can't talk to anybody. They never said I have to believe in anything special, right? All they do is help and support me. But that was her first response. That's the first response of our families and our friends. "Oh my God, you're in a cult. They're trying to control your brain." No, they're trying to free you from it. Okay? So this is part of the path. We want you to get this, okay? So we're creating this tribal structure. The teachers and mentors are like elders, right, in a tribe. Okay, they're further along the path. It doesn't mean that they're done with the path. These are people who are still doing their work, but are much further along on this path of releasing a lot of this trauma. So what we do is we gaze with people, right? Gazing, you get seen, really seen, without judgment. There's no reason, right, not to be okay here. All right, you're with me. And the gazing is a mirror, right? Here's an individual who has released a lot of his trauma here on the right. Teacher, lots of trauma gone, so your body mind here sees this, and it says, how can I mimic that, right? How can I lose all this? What do I have to get rid of to look like this? And it says, well, I need to get rid of this, and I'll show that in a second. So the teacher provides a model, but there's also, in this tradition, there's an energetic transmission that seems to come from the teacher that activates the student's psycho-spiritual system to help it in releasing its thing. So as we sit with this discomfort, what do we find? Does the button start to unwind, right? We start to release our emotions with this. So those defense mechanisms, which are associated with suppressing the emotions, don't need to be there. It takes a huge amount of energy to construct a button to keep emotions down. Okay, so we're using a huge amount of our personal energy. Every time we release a button, we release a huge amount of energy into our system. And we feel much more enlivened, okay? Our muscles will tend to start relaxing and the contractions start disappearing. We reframe our contracts, namely we recognize that we just don't have one option anymore. I don't have to sit here in a frozen state. Oh my God, I could get up, right? I could walk out of the room right now, or I could actually say, oh, this is okay. I'm not stupid, right? I have intelligence. I have capacity. I can do this. And what happens also with this is that there's an integration of those unprocessed trauma memories. So what happens is our timeline, where there used to be holes, as we start going through this work with the gazing and the teachers and the sitting in the workshops, the mutual relating with others, our timeline starts to heal itself. And they get integrated into our past. And so what happens is, as we're going through what I call the preparatory reconfiguration, we're going through the rot. We're trying to get rid of this old system to fall into a new system. Really, we're going from an old morphic field of humanity as what we call hypermasculine, which is fix, anger, okay, into a new field, right, that is allowing, that is loving, that is empowering, okay? So we start releasing, again, for this person to look like the teacher, has to start releasing these buttons. And so they do this over time through teacher sessions, through the sittings and workshops. Again, we start losing it. And what happens is there comes a time where we release a certain threshold amount that we actually move from this sense of me up here to the sense of me inhabiting the body again. There's a movement downwards. And it feels like coming home. Where have I been? Oh my God, I just came home. And even though we haven't released all these other things yet, we've actually opened up enough space, because there's so much space being held in these, so much energy being held in these contractions, that we can't occupy the physical body. Boom, we release all the stuff. Psycho-spiritual stuff is gone. What happens is we open up space for us to fall into ourselves again. So we're no longer centered in the head or about outside. That sense of forebrain, midbrain, and lower brain are now all working together again. Okay, and what happens when that happens is the limbic system tends to shut down and become a typical limbic system. Namely, when flight and fight is needed, it comes on. When it's not needed, it's off. We're living mostly out of prefrontal cortex. Most people, before they have their whole being realization, if you ask them to have a spiritual experience, they tend to go up. Right? They can feel that sense of going up and out. Up. Oh, I'm going up. But then they fall back down. Okay? There's forays of going up, but then you fall back. After you have your whole being realization, you tend to have forays of falling into the limbic system, which means you're working on another button. And that when that happens, it feels like, oh my God, I lost my realization. You haven't. What's happening is you've fallen into one of these zones that needs to be explored. And once it's explored, boom, you're back into prefrontal cortex. You're back into that synchronous state, and your mind is working again. So it oscillates, right? This is what they call that oscillation period. After you wake up, after you have your awakening, you tend to oscillate for 3 or 4 years very strongly, going in and out of what seems to be awakening and losing awakening. But really what you're doing is you're going from your awake state, and from the awake state, you have the capacity to witness these traumas as opposed to falling into them. Earlier on, I said when a button is pushed, you fall into them and you experience them as if they're happening. Now, from the awakened state, you have ability to witness and be outside of it. And what happens is you realize that, oh my God, I can be the parent to that child part that child part never had. And what we find is that we become our own parents. We start to do the reparenting ourselves. We know what that child actually needed at 2 years. They needed a hug and said, you're okay. They needed love, okay? And you're okay. Yes, what you're doing is all right. It's okay to be curious. It's okay to have intelligence. It's okay to be creative. It's okay to be playful. We didn't get that. And so the adult can look at that child and try to say, hi, honey. Let me give you a hug and tell you I love you. And let's see what we can work. Let's see if we can allow you to allow those emotions to express, because the adult body has the ability to express those emotions without feeling it's going to die. The child still thinks they're going to die. The adult body can handle it. So staying as the adult, working with these children parts, these child parts, allows the emotion to be processed or digested. Okay, and all we're doing is it's an organic process. We're falling into the limbic system, we're falling into the buttons, we're falling into the emotional patterns. Okay, we're releasing them and we're going back to our awakened state. And so this is a process of releasing and releasing and releasing. So what happens is over time, after this whole being realization, we go through our sacred reconfiguration, and boom, now we start looking like that teacher that we saw a long time ago. We lose all this stuff. And this is all fostered by exploring expanded states of consciousness, doing embodying and physical experiences, and mutually relating with others. We know that we don't grow unless we're relating with other human beings. That's the edge of who we are. And as you do that, you're going to find that most of your memories are integrated into the timeline, and there may be, at this point, after the oscillations, a few major traumas that you haven't been able to resolve, which will resolve themselves over time. Okay? And as you do this, all this releasing here is freeing up your essential qualities. It's allowing you to express your authentic self again. And so what happens is, after this phase here, you're going to go through further awakenings. There's further clarifications of the mind. Mind goes through a series of awakenings, okay, that clarifies it. It becomes more spacious, more open, more luminous over time. There's a sense of individuation. And what do I mean by that? Over time, and I went through a year of this, you don't give a rat's ass what people think about you anymore. Okay? You don't care that when you express yourself, people care about you. All right? I went through a year of this, and I found out what happens. I'm about to hedge what I'm saying to this person. Oh my God, I'm still scared. And then I say what I need to say. And we get over our fear of actually expressing ourselves to others. It's a beautiful passage when it happens, because all of a sudden it's such a freedom to say, oh my God, I can be my unique self. What did I do look at my hair. I had this hair when I was a little kid, this long. My wife just cut off 3 inches of it, all right? You know, love my hair long. But as an adult, you're oh my God, I have people saying, oh my God, you look like a hippie, you look like a bum. And so I cut my hair because I wanted to fit in. No, I love my hair long. Oh my God, it's wonderful, right? I can express my individual self. I can express my truth without being afraid of expressing my truth.